All right, everybody, how you doing? Jeff Johnson from the Gazette here for another edition of the Prep Huddle. Is that what we're calling it? Prep Huddle, No Huddle, Prep Podcast.
Years we've been doing this without a real good name.
I know, right? Terrible. Jeff Linder in the blue shirt, K.J. Pilcher in the spectacles and full count hat. We are here to talk a little bit about some high school football. Boys, it's here, the postseason, baby. Let's roll. Let's go. Right?
You bet.
So is this considered the actual playoffs, or is this a playoff round or is this a play-in round for those small classes? How is this classified, and how are the banners going to be passed around come Friday night after the game?
I remember when the first time they went to 32 schools in each class. At first, they didn't call the first round the playoffs. I think it was called sub-state. Then retroactively, they changed it back to playoffs. So I suppose you get a banner if you're one of the final 32 teams in those classes. I suppose I was thinking about that last night too. I suppose it's first round, second round, quarters, semis, finals, and then for the big schools, it's just first round and quarters, semis, finals.
Gotcha.
We could just call it the round of 32. What do you think?
There you go.
I like that. And give them a medal for crying out loud. Why not? They made it. They had to qualify. Legit.
Yeah.
So, give them a banner, baby. Give them a banner. That's what I'm saying. So, it's the small classes, 2A, 1A, A, 8-player that goes Friday night in the first round. And, you want to talk in, I guess let's just start out with, was there anything last week that real quick that kind of caught anybody's eye in any of the classes? Anything that stood out game wise or result wise or anything like that?
The game I was at, I was, really surprised that Kennedy had to really kind of scratch and claw after kind of a humdrum first half, and they really did get the car going in the second half, and they were able to beat Johnson 24-10. That's where I was at.
KJ, where were you at?
Well, I was at West Delaware at Independence, and I tell you what, it was a heck of a ball game there, but I think West Delaware showed they really, defensively they grind the ball out. They can grind the ball out offensively, but they use big plays, so they showed that other side of their offense, and I tell you what, those were two really good teams. West Delaware pulled away at the end. Independence had a 9-minute drive to start the third quarter. It was 7-7 at the half. Independence comes out on the opening drive and just grinds it down. 9-minute drive, 9.5, I think. Actually, I think it was 2:27 when West Delaware finally got the ball, but they blocked a field goal, so they turned Independence away with no points, and then West Delaware pulled away in the fourth quarter. But West Delaware, not to be too overly dramatic, but I think that's a title contender type team into it. They're 3A.
I'm trying to even remember where I was. Oh, Liberty. I was at Liberty where I saw a Class 4A game where the winning team attempted one pass play, and it ended up as an intentional grounding. And that was it. Burlington.
Wow.
And Burlington ran for 330 some yards, and that one bad play call where it was a pass. So it looks like Liberty won't make it. It was a good story for, considering, the Bolts had lost their first 5 games and then won 2 straight. And, we're looking at the playoffs, but now it looks like Liberty might be kind of the odd man looking in at the playoffs. But Burlington's got a nice club, and just a little bit run heavy. I think I looked at the stats, completed 13 passes all season.
Really?
And again, that's a 4A team that's 6-2. So you just don't. That's just is just strange. It's just very strange. But
True.
you know what? However it works. However it works. So, all right. Let's move forward. Let's look at maybe Class 2A first round games first, or the round of 32. I guess as Jeff wants to call it. That's cool.
Call it whatever you want. Show.
We there's number 4 place at number 1 place. I don't know what that verbiage means, but it's basically 4 seed against 1 seed, right?
Yeah.
We'll look at the 8 games there. Actually, I think it's 9. Is it 8? No, it's 8. Garner Hayfield, Ventura 2-6 at West Lyon, 6-2. Sheldon 3-5 at Southeast Valley, 7-1. Spirit Lake 6-2 at Osage, 5-3. West Liberty 3-5 at Waukon, 7-1. LaPorte City Union 3-5 at Monticello, 6-2. Osceola Clark 5-3 at Williamsburg, 5-3. Centerville 4-4 at West Marshall, 7-1. Then Roland Story 3-5 at Greene County, 7-1. And then the 8 games in the 3 versus 2 seeds. Esterville Lincoln Central 5-3 at Central Line, 5-3. That's a heck of a first round game. Red Oak 3-5 at OABCIG, 7-1. Orange City Unity Christian 5-3 at Clear Lake, 5-3. New Hampton 5-3 at North Fayette Valley, 7-1. Dubuque Wahlert gets in with a 3-5 record, plays at Commands, 5-3. Northeast Goose Lake 4-4 at Mid Prairie, 5-3. Davis County 4-4 at Iowa Falls Alden, 5-3. And then PCM 4-4 at Clarinda, 4-4. Any of those games kind of stick out to you? I kind of mentioned off the top. Esterville, Lincoln Central, and Central Lyon George Little Rock, who we've had ranked, I think, pretty much all season, have to play right away in the first round. So is that your top game maybe in 2A? What do you think of the 2A pairings, I guess, boys?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest game. I think those are 2 teams that, we had Central Lyon George Little Rock as our number 1 to start the season. I think they're tied for 8th right now. They're in the round of 32 playing against each other. That's a monster game.
I'm kind of looking, New Hampton at North Fayette Valley is kind of one that maybe catches my a little bit. Anybody agree or disagree with that?
I think that's the best 2A game in the area.
Trying to think here.
I think Spirit Lake at Osage might be kind of a sneaky good game. I know Spirit Lake's, been a mainstay in our rankings for the majority of the season, but I think this might be a decent game come Friday.
And no undefeated teams. How about that in Class 2A?
Yeah.
So, but a lot of the bouncing the non-district stuff, playing against 3A teams and whatnot. So that's your 2A field. Yeah. I just had it and I lost it. We'll look at 1A here in a second. Has anybody seen Mid Prairie this year? That's not a bad ball club, is it? Just
I saw Mid Prairie at Williamsburg, and that was a game that was decided in the final minute or so. That's a team. They've got some really good athletes, especially the Kavanaugh kid at quarterback. So I mean, that's a team if they kind of limit mistakes, and that's a team that could make a run. One of their losses, they're 5-3, but one of their losses was a forfeit to Regina because of injuries in COVID. So that's more of a 6-2 type team coming in, and heck, they nearly knocked off Williamsburg. Williamsburg really had to pull that one out. So I know ifs and buts for Candy Nuts to be Christmas all year long, but that's a team that's close to being a 7-1 team.
I got the 1A pairings here, whereas we didn't have any undefeated teams in 2A. We have 6 undefeated teams in Class 1A. We'll run through those quick. Forwards against ones are West Monona 2-6 at West Sioux 7-1, Emmitsburg 3-5 at South Central, Calhoun 7-1, Eagle Grove 3-5 at Dyke New Hartford 8-0, South Hardin 3-5 plays at Dyersville Beckman 8-0. Cascade 4-4 at Iowa City Regina 8-0. Durant 2-6 at Sigourney Keota 8-0. Pleasantville 4-4 at Van Meter 8-0. And then Nottoway Valley 4-4 plays at 8-0 Underwood. And then the threes against the twos, it's Carroll Kemper 4-4 at Western Christian 3-5. Interstate 35 4-4 at Woodward Granger 5-3. MFL Marmac 6-2 at Denver 7-1. Appleton Parkersburg 5-3 at Waterloo Columbus 6-2. Eldon Cardinal gets in 5-3 at West Branch 6-2. Mediapolis 5-3 at Pella Christian 7-1. South Hamilton 4-4 is at Adair Casey Guthrie Center 7-1. And then Ridgeview 5-3 at Trainer 6-2. Anything game wise or team wise or anything stick out to you guys? That's 1A is kind of a loaded class to me, obviously, with what eight teams that are 8-0 or 6 teams that are 8-0. That's pretty good.
The two that really stand out to me in our area are the ones at West Branch. The Bears play Cardinal, and MFL Marmac at Denver. I think those are the two best games involving two of our area teams. And the game that looks like a blowout, Durant, Sigourney Keota. Durant is 2-6 and Sigourney's 8-0, but they played in week 1. I think that was a 23-20 game.
And Durant has the really good running back whose name escapes me. Not DeLong.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they was interesting. I think it was right. We had Ryan Plegancool down there at Regina last week, and it was telling to me that Regina coach Jason Dumont called him a Division I player, college player. So, yeah, it looks on paper like a blowout, but I think you're right, guys. That could be a really interesting game. And, state-wise, AP at Waterloo Columbus kind of catches my eye a little bit. And then Meepo at Pella Christian. I mean, those are two teams that play or that are, kind of traditional power. So, and then, the rest, obviously, the 4s against the 1s will be a pretty heavy favorite in each of those games. So, let's see. Class A. Let's go down to Class A. The 4s against the 1s. We've got Tri-Center 5-3 at Hartley Melvin Sanborn 6-2. Alta Aurelia 5-3 at West Hancock 8-0. St. Ansgar 3-5 at Grundy Center 7-1. Nashua Plainfield 4-4 at North Lynn 8-0. Bellevue 5-3 at Lisbon 7-1. Highland 3-5 at Linville Sully 7-1. Madrid 3-5 at Mount Ayr 6-2. And then AHSTW 4-4 at Woodbury Central 7-1. And then the 3s against the 2s, we've got IKM Manning 5-3 at South O'Brien 6-2. Starmont gets in at 3-5 at North Butler 7-1. Elburnett 4-4 at Wapsie Valley 6-2. Mason City Newman 6-2 at East Buchanan 7-1. North Tama 6-2 at 6-2 Wapello. Earlham 5-3 at Belle Plaine 6-2. Ogden 4-4 at Southwest Valley 6-2, and then Lamar's Galen 5-3 at Logan Magnolia 7-1. Anybody with thoughts on the Class A field, especially the first round matchups here?
Go ahead, KJ. I'll defer to you here.
Yeah, I obviously Mason City Newman at East Buck really stands out, especially with our area. That should be a really good game. I'll be up there Friday night. The one thing that I thought was kind of interesting as far as matchups go, Newman is one of the top teams in Class 4A. They average 36.8 points a game, and they're tied for 4th in the class with 43 touchdowns. So obviously the Newman offense is a key component to their success. And the Buccaneers defense has been really key for them. They only allow 11 points a game, and they've forced 24 turnovers this season, which is second, or their 10 interceptions is second in Class A. So I think that's where this game is going to teeter on, is who wins that battle between the Buccaneer defense and Mason City Newman's offense. And the one thing that really could help them is East Buck's rush attack. You know, we talked about Burlington being run heavy. You know, I think everybody knows East Buck is a run first, run second, you know, maybe even run third type of team, even though, you know, they probably could throw the ball if they wanted. But they've rushed for 2,700 yards, 2,715 to be exact. And, you know, maybe we see the offense really helping that Buccaneer defense by chewing up a lot of yards on the ground and the clock. But, you know, that really seems to be the game that stands out to me here in the first round. And one other thing, you know, let's hear it for Starmont, right? It was just a couple seasons ago that they were on the brink of, you know, did they cancel the season, or you know, they were forfeiting games because their numbers were so low, and now they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, you all know that I have some relatives up around that way. So yeah, excuse me, it was good to see the Stars, and you kind of look at their resume here too. I mean, they were in almost all the 5 games that they lost, you know, 13 points to Sumner Fredericksburg, 90 point loss to East Buck, 8-point loss to Southwind, you know, couple touchdown loss to really good and ranked Lisbon team, and then Northland shut them out, but that's kind of what Northland does. So
Yeah.
So yeah, good on the Stars. I agree. That's a nice turnaround for a program that, you know, couldn't even field the team because of such low numbers. So
Yeah.
um,
So hopefully things keep climbing for them.
yeah, absolutely. 8-player, excuse me. Let's run through the 8-player where we had a little bit different. I think it was what was that? It wasn't was it a wild card, Jeff? In class in 8-player, or
There are 2 wild cards in 8-player.
Okay.
And they went to the 17-point rule, not RPI, for their 2 wild cards.
Okay, very good. So we've got what they call 4 seeds. I assume those are the wild cards at the 1 seeds. Springville gets in at 4-4, plays at Turkey Valley 8-0, and then East Mills 4-4 plays at top ranked Cumberland and Nina Messina 8-0, and then we've got 3s at 1s. Exira Elkhorn Kimballton 5-3 at Remsen St. Mary's 8-0. Kingsley Pearson 4-4 at Harris Lake Park 6-2. Tripola 5-3 at Don Bosco 6-2. Dunkerton 4-4 at Easton Valley 8-0. Edgewood Colesburg gets in at 5-3, plays at Waco 8-0. New London 4-3 at Montezuma 9-0. BGM 5-3 at Martinsdale St. Mary's 6-2, and then Lamoni 4-4 at Lennox 8-0. Then you've got 3 seeds against 2 seeds. You got Northwood Kensett 6-2 at Lansing Key 7-1. Stanton Essex 6-2 at Audubon 7-1, and then you've got 2s and 2s with the host determined by point differential. Newell Fonda 7-1 at Janesville 7-1. Grettinger Terrell Ruthven Ayrshire 7-1 at Gladbrook Rhinebeck 7-1. English Valley 6-1 at Southeast Warren 5-3, and then Baxter 7-1 at Fremont Mills 5-3. First of all, guys, what do you think? I mean, you've obviously the 2s and the 2s. That's unfortunate, you know, where you got 4 games there where you got some really good football teams that have to play against each other right away, right?
Yeah. you know, the one of those that kind of stands out to me is GTRA and Gladbrook Rhinebeck, both 7-1.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's a really good first round game out of the chute. There's some good games over here. You know, I think English Valleys and Southeast Warren is going to be a really good game. Northwood Kent's at Lansing Key. I know Key's kind of a fringe team for us, but I think that's going to be a terrific game. And I'll tell you, it wouldn't shock me if Edgewood Colesburg made a strong run at Waco.
Agree. And then that BGM Martinsdale St. Mary's game kind of intrigued me a little bit. It 8 player as well. So all these classes that we mentioned, 8 player through 2A, things will be after Friday night's first round games or round of 32. Then everything, the remaining 16 teams will go into 4-team pods. And I assume those will be seeded somehow. Jeff, is that, and KJ, is that kind of what you're?
I would imagine so. I would think that they'll. I know they're going to keep the district champions apart from each other in the round of 16. So you know, I guess they're going to seed it somehow. And I just hope it doesn't have anything to do with that alphabet.
You know, geography is going to play a role in this, right? Still,
probably.
Did it seem, guys, like there was a little bit of secrecy when it came to, you know, not even coaches really knowing how this whole thing was going to be worked out, pairings wise, or am I conspiracy theorying here a little bit too much?
Well, there wasn't anything public. I mean, they didn't say that, you know, this is how, there wasn't anything in the manual. This is how it's going to work this year. And so we were just kind of guessing. And I assume it's the same way with the coaches. I was told that they weren't going to put teams into a bracket at all this year. And then, you know, lo and behold, they are, which I think is good. I'm glad that they changed their mind and they are. So I don't know. It just seems like we're just kind of all out in the dark on this.
You know, with as goofy as last year was and everything else, is it a possibility Boone just wasn't sure exactly how they were gonna progress or how they were gonna make this new system work? I mean, there are a lot of not saying they weren't on top of things, but there are a lot of things that have changed over the last year or two. Maybe they just weren't sure how things were going to progress or how they were going to handle things until, you know, a little later than normal.
Do you mind the way it's being done here, guys? Do you like this in a sense, or would you tweak it a little bit?
I think there's always some tweaks that can be made. But I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with the 8-game schedule with the smaller classes and going to 32 teams. If that's what the majority wants, then that's okay. I guess I wonder how many of these teams that didn't make the playoffs are going to play a 9th game. Have you heard of too many of those cases, or are most teams just going to call it quits at 8?
No, I excuse me. I actually, there's a bunch of games actually on Thursday night, guys. Games that involve non-playoff teams. Kind of counting the list here: 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. 9, you know, games that were put together here, presumably in the last week. Teams like West Central at Alcator Central here in the area. Central City's going to host HLV. So that's just 2. And then there's, you know, I think there's some as well on Friday night. So why not, right? You know, if you want to keep playing, you want to get that 9th game in, you find someone that's fairly close to you that, you know, is a similar team, and play. So I got no problem with that. So, there still is some regular season stuff to go here for 3A, 4A, and 5A. Final regular season week. There's still obviously some things to be figured out playoff wise. We do have City High playing at Davenport Central on Thursday night, and then there's some games. Obviously, a lot of games on Friday night, and some games that will have a say and who gets in, who doesn't get in, and seeding as well. And I guess, Jeff, you're going to be at probably the premier game around here, and that's Prairie and Linmar.
Yeah, and there's a lot to play for there. Prairie right now is 6-2 and has an RPI of 4. Linmar 7-1, has an RPI of 5. My guess is that the winner of that game will probably go with what Brian White calls home, dome. Maybe they get to play 2 games at home if they win the first. And that's a big deal. I think, especially if you're going to have a first or second round game against a pretty good Central Iowa team, you want to be playing that game at home.
Dowling's kind of lurking out there as a first round opponent you really don't want, right, guys?
Yeah. I mean, the way they turned around and what was it, a win over Valley last week. That was one, that Maroon train is chugging along right now, and maybe a lot of people have written them off. And here they are looking like they're playing their best right as the postseason is approaching. So that's going to be something to kind of keep an eye on. And we've seen, Southeast Polk escape a couple games, especially wasn't it Dowling in week 1 that they scored on the final play? So things in Central Iowa have gotten really interesting with, Southeast Polk, Ankeny, West Des Moines Valley, Dowling, and then there just happens to be Urbandale sitting out there too. It's going to be kind of interesting how that plays out.
And Dowling got
Urbandale slipped from 4 to 6 in the RPI because I think one of their opponents, I think it was Sioux City West, had to forfeit a couple games, so that bumps Urbandale down.
Yeah, I saw that. The Sioux City West used ineligible player inadvertently, so had to forfeit. And I think it had broken a 25-game losing streak too, unfortunately. But had used a player that was ineligible, unintentionally done so, and ended up having to forfeit. And like you said, Jeff, that it does not just affect Sioux City West; it's affecting RPI and some of these other schools. So unfortunate deal all the way around. And go back to Dowling quick. Quarterback Jackson Smolik, who broke his collarbone in the first game, he's potential D1 type kid, is back now. Returned last week against Valley. So needless to say, the Maroons are going to be a very, very tough out in 5A. So I'm just kind of looking here at maybe some of the other games involving schools in the Metro in particular. Kennedy finishes the regular season at Dubuque Hempstead. Iowa City West hosts Pleasant Valley. Marion is at Waterloo East. Liberty at Clinton. Waverly, Shellrock, and Decorah boys. That's always a big rivalry and a big game there Friday night. What do you think about that one?
That's a district title game. 4-0 in their district, and obviously the winner of that one will win that district. And Waverly's really, really good, and it looks like Decorah's coming on as well. They beat Western Dubuque in what was kind of a pivotal game there to clinch a spot. And I think it's going to be a typical Wartburg Luther game.
Then Kingston Stadium is I think it's a pretty big game. Jeff, you probably got this sniffed out a little bit better than the rest of us, but Cedar Rapids, Washington, and Pella, and we all know Xavier's your district winner there. That's been clinched, but who finishes number 2 is very much up in the air with Pella, Clear Creek, Amana, and Washington, and then then you got a couple of wild card berths out there too for maybe whoever doesn't get second place. What can you tell us about that whole scenario there, Jeff?
wins, they're the second team. If Washington wins, we got a mess. If Washington wins and if Newton knocks off Clear Creek and Manna, Washington's the second team. If Washington wins and Clear Creek wins, it's a three-way tie. And I think the RPI would probably go in Clear Creek and Manna's favor. So they get the second place. My guess is that one of the four at-large bids is going to come out of that district, whether it's Clear Creek or Washington or maybe even Newton.
Is there a chance that they get 2 wild cards or not, Lindy?
I'd say it's unlikely. Right now, Pella is 13 in the RPI. Clear Creek Man is 14, Newton 17, Wash is 18. One of those 4 schools is going to get an automatic berth, and 2 of those schools are going to lose. So they're going to fall down. So I would say the 2 winners are in and the 2 losers are probably out.
Okay. So there's a lot on the line in that district going into the final weekend.
Before we move on,
Yeah.
Washington's roller coaster ride of a season. They started out, we had them ranked, and they jumped out to a 2-0 lead or 2-0 start, and then there were some pretty ugly losses there in the season. Who would have thought by the time week 9 came around that they actually would have a shot of being in the playoffs? I mean, that's a nice kind of mid-season turnaround for them a little bit. Didn't they have a big win against Newton? I think at Kingston Stadium. So, if Lightning can strike twice, they could be in the playoffs. And I didn't see that happening after, say, week 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's a great point, KJ. They kind of ran the gauntlet there when you look at the schedule. Had to play Kennedy, Linn-Mar, Xavier, and Clear Creek and Manna back to back. That's really tough, and I'm sure they're still lamenting that 1-point loss to Clear Creek and Manna game that
had.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're looking quite a bit better playoff wise, but yeah, those boys didn't quit, and they've they won 43-23 over Newton, then 35-0 over Oskaloosa last week. So good stuff there from the Warriors, no doubt. So KJ, you got some things you want to quiz me and Lindy on, right?
Yeah, we'll revisit our who has more segment here. So I've tried to dig around and get some things to see just how on top of area stuff you are. So the first one, these are hard. So which is more, Iowa City High Ronnie Majors longest kickoff return for a touchdown, or Southwind's Carson Wenthold's longest punt return for a touchdown?
I'm gonna go Major, just because if the young man from Southwind picked up a punt like at his own 5-yard line or something, his coach was probably yelling at him until he broke in the clear down the field. So that's my theory on that, and I'm sure I'm wrong, but that's what I'm going with.
That's a good theory.
That's a good theory. I like that. I'll just go the other way. I'll go Southwind, and I'll go with the kid getting chewed out as he runs down the sideline.
Ronnie Majors' longest kickoff return for a touchdown was 97 yards. Carson Wenthold's longest punt return for a TD was 98 yards. So it wasn't Wenthold. And I'm sure there was probably a, "What are you doing? Go, yeah!" kind of response.
Great play.
But yeah.
KJ, you're muted. There you go.
Yep. So 2 extremely good plays from those 2 young men. Northland in Class A, Northland, Lisbon, East Buck, and Belle Plaine are a combined 28-4. Which of those teams has the best scoring differential? And for extra credit, rank them 1 through 4 in scoring differential.
All right, that's fine. I'm gonna go. And I don't know why. Belle Plaine, North Lynn, Lisbon, East Buchanan.
I'll go North Lynn, East Buchanan, Lisbon, Belle Plaine.
Northland is number 1. Their scoring differential is 34.6 points per game coming into this playoff round. Lisbon is second. They score about 35.9 points a game. They only give up 8.3, so that's 27.6. Then it's Belle Plaine. They score 32.1 points a game, which kind of surprised me a little bit. Only give up 12.8, so they're at 19.4 overall. And then East Buck is fourth, 29.8 points per game, and only give up 11 for an 18.8 differential. And I think a lot of that is because they run the ball so much. They kind of shorten the game a little bit and pretty stingy. So 4 really good teams entering the first round of the Class A playoffs here in the area. This one's a little more straightforward. Which player has the most all-purpose yards so far this season? Cade Mullinex from Sigourney Keota, Sean Staley from Solon, or Luke Menster from Springville?
I'm going to go Menster just because the 8-player game is so wide open.
I'll go with Onyx.
The correct answer is Sean Staley from Solon.
Of course.
And all 3 of those guys are only separated by 22 total yards. Staley has 1644 all-purpose yards. Luke Menster is second with 1633, and Cade Mullinex has 1622 coming into this week's games. Who has more offensive and defensive touchdowns combined? Iowa City High or Linn-Mar?
City High.
I'll say Linn-Mar.
They're only separated by 1. City High has 42 offensive touchdowns and 5 defensive touchdowns for 47. Linn-Mar has 42 offensive touchdowns and 4 defensive touchdowns for 46. So City High is correct.
I own you, Linder. I own you.
You do. Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so here's the last one. Who has more passing TDs from Kennedy's Carson Blitz or rushing TDs from Prairie's Mikkel Taylor?
I just looked at McKell's. I'm going to go Blitz.
Okay.
I will as well.
Blitz has more. He has 16 passing touchdowns, but Taylor has 14 touchdowns, so not too far behind there for Prairie. So some interesting things there, and you guys did pretty well. I tried to make them as difficult as possible, but you guys did well. Nice job.
Everything's difficult for me, so 100%. All right, where's everybody gonna be at on Friday night?
Linn-Mar Stadium for me.
Linn-Mar Stadium for Jeff. I know KJ is going to be in Winthrop.
Yep, I'm gonna be at the Mason City Newman East Buck game. Also, want to take the chance to let people know kind of something we're doing. We're going to be following Kennedy for the postseason pretty close each week. We're going to kind of a little bit of a soft opening, I guess. We're going to have a little bit of a feature. I'm going to head over there to practice and kind of get an inside look of how they're preparing for Dubuque Hempstead here this weekend or this week. and looking to close off a 9-0 regular season as our top ranked team. So keep an eye out for that. Some multimedia features and content from following Kennedy here this postseason.
Yeah, it's kind of stinks in a way that we've got, clearly in 5A, you've got 3 really good teams from the Metro. And, Kennedy didn't play either Lindmar or Prairie this season, which it's kind of weird, in a way.
Who does that benefit? Is that, if they cross paths in the postseason, does that benefit Kennedy or does that benefit a Lindmar or Prairie? Or does it not matter? I mean,
I'm not sure it matters.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to, you might think that it might favor Prairie just because of the unique offense, but you're also looking at Kennedy and Prairie have played a lot in the against each other, including playoffs the last
right.
2, 3, 4
They're very
years.
familiar with each other.
Yeah, and Lindmar's kind of got a new coaching staff, so maybe that would be an advantage for Prairie. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? Hopefully, we'll get some of these delicious matchups here in the postseason. So I'll be at Kingston Stadium for Pella and Cedar Rapids watching on Friday night. I know we're covering a bunch of other games too. We'll have a running scoreboard. So catch your either your regular season or playoff scores at the Gazette online. We'll have the Green Gazette up and running, of course. Put together our own little online sports section. Nathan Ford will be doing his thing with video reports and talking about the highlights of Friday night. So I haven't seen the weather. It's supposed to be chilly, I think, but dry. Is that right?
I think so. I think pretty nice for week 9. Looking right now. Friday, cloudy. I'm sorry, sunny and 54 for a high. So I suppose probably 48 or 50 at kickoff. That's all right for week 9, isn't it?
Yeah, especially with what we've the good fortune we've had all season long, and only a couple weeks away from the dome when it's 72 and sunny. So yeah, I'll take it.
But a low of 30 Friday night, so it's going to get cold fast.
Yeah, we didn't really have the postponement Friday night that we always seem to have, at least once this year, where a bunch of games get weathered out and have to be played, on a Saturday or a Monday or whatever. So, knock on wood, it's been pretty good from a weather standpoint. So,
and I was reminded yesterday that at this time last year it was snowing.
Really?
In eastern Iowa, we actually had snow accumulation. So, I'll take the 30s and 40s and cooler temps as long as I'm not having to shovel a driveway.
Absolutely. All right, boys. Thanks very much. Nathan, thank you as always. Folks, we hope you enjoyed this edition of the Prep Football Podcast. And as always, we will let KJ carry us out.
Keep your head on a swivel.